pronouns.
When new screenwriters start learning how to write, they're susceptible to bad habits, and when they become old screenwriters, they can unknowingly hold on to those habits. One of the most frequent I see in both new and old writers is the use of we when writing action. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's an example. So here, there's we move down a long windowless corridor. We draw closer to this door. We can see some skin beneath. Anytime we is used, a new element or change is introduced, like it's appearing on an imaginary screen. We move is the camera moving. We can see directs attention to a new detail. Writers will also use we here to cue a sound effect, or we return to signal a cut. You'll see this we habit in a lot of screenplays that get very specific with technical direction, which is kind of taboo for non-director screenwriters to do, but that's a whole other discussion. Right now, I'm just explaining why it's bad screenwriting in of itself. My main reason being that it really annoys me and I hate it. For you to see things my way, I want you to imagine yourself as a screenwriter. Yeah, I know, horrifying, but stick with it. You're writing a screenplay, which is basically a very long list of things that are meant to be seen on a screen. Now, imagine yourself typing, "We see the big-ass beluga whale" onto your poorly formatted Google Doc. So, you have just stated that the big-ass beluga whale you've written into your screenplay can be seen on the screen. Just think about that. Let it stew a bit. You bozo, you absolute buffoon, believe that it needs to be made clear that the big-ass beluga whale is visible. Of course it's visible, dipshit. It's a fucking screenplay. It's not like anyone's going to be confused if you only wrote a big-ass beluga whale. No one's going to be like, what about a big-ass beluga whale? Am I supposed to see it? Because if it wasn't meant to be seen, then why would you have written it at all? It's redundant. It's redundant and useless. And yeah, those words don't mean the same thing. Why? Because an emergency brake is in a car's vestigial appendix. Screenplays have no room for useless information, and I can't think of anything more useless than clarifying that the shit written in them is supposed to be perceived. Like, who is this information for anyway? It's not for anyone actually making the film. This information doesn't relate to what they do at all. We watch as can't be acted out. We are can't be caught on a camera. We can hear can't be recorded with a boom mic. The only information these kinds of sentences contain that is of any use are in the predicate, so whatever's there should be the subject anyway. The crew doesn't need to be told what's written on the page will be seen. They just need to know what is going to be seen so they can do their jobs. Now, if the intent of the screenwriter is to connect with some hypothetical audience, then that's even more useless. Does an audience need to be instructed on how to watch a movie? Maybe some people do, but even so, they aren't going to be handed a copy of the screenplay when they take their seat in the theater. So yeah, the production doesn't need it and the audience doesn't need it. Shit's useless. But I don't want anyone to get the impression from how I'm talking about this that I want to bully beginners who don't see how useless it is to write we like this off rip. That can just be chalked up to inexperience. But I absolutely support bullying the experienced screenwriters who write like this.
We? We.
Alright, so here's my little theory about why this happens. I think screenwriters can pick up this habit before they even start writing by watching scenes with characters who are directors or pretending to be. They'll see some shit like, okay, so we open up in a field and we see a boy stomping a fish, and then think, wow, so that's how Hollywood people talk. Then when it comes time to write their own action, they emulate that bit so they sound professional. They might do this for a few years and get away with it for their smaller projects where things are much more relaxed. But when they want to break into the mainstream, they cling to anything that they believe makes them look legit, including that little habit they picked up. But instead of their screenplays giving the impression they're written by a visionary auteur, they just read like they're written by a complete jackass. Look, barring any adjustments or cuts out of necessity, or God forbid, artistic license, the director is going to make sure that what's in the screenplay is going to be acted out and shot. They are paid to do that. So if you, a screenwriter, feel the need to include little signals for details, it comes off as you not trusting anyone to do your work justice. It says, hey, make sure to do this thing, it's really important. When the crew reads that, they're gonna go, bro, does this shithead think we're stupid? And then they hate you. They hate you forever and ever and ever, and they never forget how stupid you sound. Or, you know, at the very least, they just think you're a shithead. Point is, you should avoid insulting the people making your words a reality.
We? Who's we?
Now, I know there are plenty of well-accredited screenwriters who employ we in their action. The example I used earlier was actually an excerpt from a released draft of a pilot by the Duffer Brothers, which after some rewrites became the first episode of Stranger Things. And I'm sure some of you watching have read the scripts of your favorite shows and films to help develop your skills, which is great. You should do that, but you need to understand those artists have earned the privilege to write the way they want. Until you get to write and direct your own multi-million-dollar project, you follow the rules like everyone else and you stick to the format. But it's just easier for me to write that way. Yeah, and I bet it's easier for you to wipe your ass standing up too. Grow up. If you want your screenplays to make it past the overworked interns doing coverage for studios, you stick to the format. Like any bad habit, it takes time to break. So when you start writing your next screenplay and you find yourself stacking up we's like a scalper in 2006, you stop. You read it over, you take some time to think about how you can reword the sentence so we aren't doing anything. And then one day, you'll wonder why you even did it in the first place.